I want to get straight to it because it seems like people are incapable of really being honest about this movie. Now, liking a movie obviously is very subjective. There are things that people look for and some things that other people don't look for. That's fine. But there are objectively things that are plot holes in this movie. Here is what I want to say. If you love the film, regardless of what I'm about to say, more power to you. But we have to at least be honest about some of these things that I'm about to say that are plot breaking and are not consistent with the overall universe that this movie is supposed to be set in. So when I'm looking at these MCU movies, here is what I'm thinking about. Number one, does it fit with the story they're trying to tell? Not just in this film, but in the overall MCU that they claim that they care about. Also, because I know these characters prior to when they're on film, when it comes to being in the comic books, it is fair for me to be able to compare and wonder, if you're not going to go with the origin, are you going to give me something as good or better? That is fair. Same way if you like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, that's fair for me to be able to do, to look at it from both sides. But even if it's not the same as a comic book, as I just said, that doesn't automatically make it bad. Because you can still have things that are different from their source material and still be really good. There are a few examples I can think of, even Castlevania not being exactly like the video game, but still giving a great story. The Boys, that show, not being exactly like the source material, but being a very enjoyable show to watch. And so on and so on as other things that I could use as an example. But staying here on Captain America, Brave New World, what are some things here that, for me, make this a very bad movie? Number one, the villain. The leader is actually a pretty interesting villain in the comics, but in this, his mind control powers seem to be rather inconsistent. So he's mind controlling random people in the sky, he's mind controlling Isaiah Bradley, but for some reason, he never mind controls Captain America. He never mind controls Ross. Wouldn't that have solved a lot of these problems? Isn't this guy that's able to calculate all these things, everyone's moves, even apparently other universes for some reason, doesn't take care of the main problem that was standing in the way of pretty much all of his plans? Sounds very convenient, right? And plus, they kind of tell us everything about his plans right in the beginning. So they don't let us really dig into the story. They kind of tell us everything that's already happening. And it allows us to kind of see, wow, this doesn't make any fucking sense, right? That's really there. Pardon my language, but it is what it is. Now, staying on Captain America, let's look at, or whatever you want to call him, Sam Wilson. When it comes to his power set and him fighting the Red Hulk, first of all, the Red Hulk has very little to do with Captain America in the comic book for a lot of reasons. He's too powerful. You need another Hulk for him. There are times in the comic where they show him being as powerful and sometimes exceeding the Hulk. Yet for some reason, Sam Wilson, no super soldier serum, which I want to say this, in the comics, Captain America, Steve Rogers, is just a peak human. It doesn't make him super strong. In the movies, though, he is strong enough to hold back a helicopter, right? We saw that in Winter Soldier. But this guy doesn't have any of that. He just has a vibranium suit. But that wouldn't make up for the sheer power gap that the Hulk has. Even him at one time holding up the shield while the Hulk is punching on it. It just doesn't make any sense, even in the comic world. We can't explain that away because Steve Rogers couldn't fight the Hulk in this universe. How would he be able to do it? It just doesn't, once again, make any sense. Then, we are now addressing the elephant in the room, or the fucking celestial in the room, which is the big one in the Indian Ocean. After 5 years, people are finally talking about it. And it has adamantium on it. Amazing. Why is that? Because they want us to know who's coming. Wolverine, right? That's pretty much, when you think about adamantium, you don't think about anybody else. You think about Wolverine. That's just a nod to him, or Weapon X, or whatever, right? Okay, where are the actual Eternals that were in that movie? They're apparently, some of them are still on the planet. Where are they, right? This was a gigantic shoehorn. So not only is Red Hulk a shoehorn, the villain, because he should be there. Hold on, how did I forget this? Why is Bruce not in this movie? Because if Sam can't fight him himself, You know who could fight him? A Hulk. But you know what's even better? There are 2 other Hulks in this universe now, because we know Bruce is in it, and we also know that his cousin Jennifer is also in it as the She-Hulk. Wouldn't it have been cool for both of them to pop up and fight the Red Hulk and help him and to kind of bring some of this stuff together? Nope. Vibranium wings, vibranium suit. That explains it. Come on. And if they're trying to say that him just being exposed to gamma radiation, not even siphoned from the Hulk, by the way, just gamma radiated pills made him into the Hulk, which, if you know anything about a lot of the other Hulk lore, everything kind of has to be related back to the Hulk in order for them to transform, because Bruce is kind of special. Because there are other beings who have been transformed to other things by being exposed to gamma radiation, but not a Hulk. I.e., Samuel Stern, the leader. He didn't turn into a Hulk when he was exposed to the radiation. Also, Doc Samson, someone else who also gets exposed but doesn't turn into a Hulk, right? This is a comic thing. They haven't actually done, him turning into like the big strong guy yet. But regardless, we understand that usually has to be related to the Hulk somehow. This is him taking pills, and it was about him holding in his anger. He was angry the whole film. Why wouldn't he have turned into the Hulk earlier? And once again, why wouldn't Samuel Stern, or the leader, have controlled Thunderbolt Ross directly? Why not? Also, now this one is more subjective to a person like me. This is the comic book stuff. They had the Serpent Society in this movie. The Serpent Society is well, you know what? Let me save that. Let me save that for the end. Because that's more subjective to what I think should happen, right? At the end of this film, there was a post-credit scene, useless one, where the leader pretty much says, hey, there's other people in multiverse, they're gonna come get you, whatever. We already knew that. Kevin Feige already said it. Usually the post-credit scenes are to reveal something. Wouldn't it have been cool for the end of this movie to have revealed, I don't know, Sam Wilson getting the Avengers together? Because that's something that was mentioned right in the beginning of the movie. Wouldn't that have been something cool to show? Wouldn't it have made a lot more sense than him just going to the raft and telling us something that we already know? Is it just me? I don't know. Whatever, right? So there's that, right? I think that's it when it comes to plot holes. I could be missing a few. I mean, there's like the little minute ones where like they're carrying around a suit for one mission and all of a sudden they're going into this base in civilian clothes. There's like little like weird stuff like that. But the other stuff is pretty much Secret Invasion. What happened to that? Remember Skrulls? Remember the president declaring war on the aliens? It's like this whole movie did not exist. It's also like, because the Eternals aren't in it, they're also not trying to link it to that movie because it had all this. It's like everything that had a bad reception, they're trying to act like doesn't exist. But that breaks continuity because how important you said that those movies are. And you're still linking. This movie is also trying to link to the Incredible Hulk movie, right? So it's the Incredible Hulk movie, Winter Soldier. Either way, it has all those things, but it's Bruce Banner-less, it's She-Hulk-less, it's Eternal-less, there's so many things missing, but it's borrowing, and it seems very empty, and then Betty just comes in at the end randomly. It's such a weird thing, and it's not good. I thought Joaquin Torres, he was always goofy looking in the comics. His costume sucks, but I really couldn't stand his acting here. I actually do like Sam Will. I like Anthony Mackie, but him being Captain America instead of Falcon is a disservice to the Falcon character, who is important to comic book history, not just as a comic book character, but as a black comic book character. He also plays off of Captain America in the comics in a way that calms down his severe idealism that Steve has. He has a high degree of cynicism, right? So they balance each other out, and it's a great relationship. And I think we missed out on that building, and their friendship is very, very unique, and it gets built over all these missions they have to go in there with, and they're always saving each other's asses. We missed that completely with this. So I guess I'll just talk to what I think should happen. I was never a fan of Captain America Civil War. I wasn't, because I was really like an Avengers light movie versus being a Captain America movie. They had the Serpent Society in this movie. And I think the Serpent Society is something that could have been the third movie. In this movie, they're like a paramilitary group versus some of them being mutants and some of them having abilities and using technology. You don't see any of that stuff. So you miss who they are. They got them named Sidewinder. Seth Rollins apparently was supposed to play King Cobra. There's a whole bunch of things they could have used with that. Let's just say there was a third movie that came before Civil War, right? And that was another movie that builds on that friendship that could have happened. And they didn't have to be giant snakes or whatever like that, but it could have been something in between versus this weird paramilitary group that gets inserted out of nowhere because Giancarlo Esposito was a last-minute add to the film. He was. And that's why a lot of things were disjointed, because there were multiple reshoots. And I know people try to act like that doesn't play any part in this movie. It does. It's why it feels the way it does. It's why, even though it's shorter than a lot of the other movies, it feels longer because the pacing is weird. Now, good thing, there aren't a whole bunch of social messages in this movie. There aren't, right? That's great. They didn't do that. But the movie still breaks a lot of the continuity. And in that, how can we call it a good movie when it doesn't obey its own laws in there? That's very, very strange. But people want to overlook that. So like I said, I think the Serpent Society was misused. Let's talk about Isaiah Bradley. Isaiah Bradley, that whole thing with his story, the reason why I really had a gripe about Steve Rogers not being in the MCU anymore, even if it's not Chris Evans, like just having him be Captain America and having him and Falcon do their thing, is because you could also explore the whole Isaiah Bradley situation as far as like, the whole Tuskegee experiment type of thing. And then his son, Josiah, who then leads to his grandson, Elijah Bradley, who turns into Patriots. We miss that story. And Steve's guilt when it comes to that, because he's like, these people would not exist if it weren't for me. But now we're experiencing guilt through like Bucky and the weird throwaway lines like, oh, we had no idea there was going to be so much weight on giving the shield to a black man. He said that in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Oh yeah, isn't Bucky like randomly running for Congress? Like the Soviet dude, the Soviet assassin that's like 100 years old. Like that's what's happening. Whatever. So much weird shit in this movie that really doesn't make a lot of sense. It just doesn't. And you can try to explain it away, but there's too many holes in it. So there was a good movie in this somewhere, maybe, but there were a lot of things I think that should never have happened before this movie even began to order even make this. It sucks. Is it the worst film ever? No, that distinction probably goes to either the Eternals or the Marvels. But this didn't need to happen. A lot of this seemed very shoehorned, and there were tons of plot holes that don't make any sense here. We know there's supposed to be a mutant era. There's supposed to be all these multiversal things that's supposed to bring all of them together. But it seems very forced. This whole thing that they had about, oh my God, this is going to be where this is the new turning point the MCU is going to be built off of a whole bunch of plot holes. That's crazy. And also, people are kind of overestimating its performance. They're going, oh, well, look at the first week. Winter Soldier did 95 million. This did 100 and something million. Okay, look at the drop off in the second week. Okay, there's that. 2, the reshoots mean that the $180 something million original budget, it's not that anymore. It's probably at least 100 million more on top of the marketing, which they never tell you, which is also another 100 million. So that means this movie probably needs at least 300 to 400 million to break even. Winter Soldier at the end made 700 million worldwide. Is this movie trending to do that? You can look at, you don't have to listen to me. It's not trending to do those same numbers. So it doesn't matter where it starts. It matters where it finishes. And a lot of people keep on posting, look at the numbers. They don't tell you much of anything. You have to look at what it's really trending to be. And like I said, I think this was a disservice to so many characters. And that's my comic book self talking. Serpent Society could have been great if they had done a whole different movie and Steve Rogers was still there, and also having Sam Wilson play his own character. I have a lot of value in Falcon. Besides that, there's also obviously the Bradleys which get done, and also the fact that there aren't any. Where's Bruce? I don't want to say all over again. You heard me say this the first time. Let me know. Did you love this movie? Did you hate this movie? Either way, let's talk about it in the comments. Do you think this is a new chapter for the MCU? I don't. Pardon my rant, but enter the nerd.